Morning, everyone. How was your break?
Good.
Good. Yeah, it's good to hear. Welcome back to campus. We actually got the snow a week early this time. Usually what happens is the snow happens right as campus is supposed to open up. And so everybody has to I mean, it was really cold this morning, so we saved that for you all. Want to make sure you're wide awake. So welcome to Accounting 367. I'm going to be your instructor for this class. I'm Dr. Barnes. I know a few people in here already, but most of you will be new faces. There'll be opportunity for us to get to know one another. Several of you will see me multiple times across your journey here at Trinity State, but this is going to be the first one. I'm just noticing some of the lights are turned off. Seems a little bit darker here than normal. Right. Okay, there we go. It makes no difference whatsoever, but it makes me feel better. All right. All right, so I have got a lot to talk about with respect to this course. I'm going to go ahead and start off with a little bit of disclaimer that I'm throwing for all my classes out. So this semester, I am actually taking a fourth class. Normally I teach 3 classes, and it's going to be 4 separate classes. It is going to be an interesting challenge. This is by far the busiest semester I ever had. I don't want anybody to take this as just committal to this class because I actually have some interesting stuff that it's going to be brand new this semester. If you ever see me walk in class looking tired and haggard, it has nothing to do with anybody's done in this class. It just has to do with the fact that I've got a lot more work on my plate than I have before. So I will apologize from that in advance. I try to bring energy and enthusiasm to all my classes. We're going to see how well that goes. I'm already a little bit down from my normal beginning of semester energy level. I appreciate your acknowledgement of that, and hopefully that it won't be an issue moving forward. But this is accounting information systems. Just for context, I took this course over about this is actually my 3rd year teaching it. We're in the middle of the 3rd year teaching it. I do not consider myself an AIS instructor. I did not come to Trinity State saying I was going to teach accounting information systems. I do have experience in data analysis. I actually did a lot of that when I was public accounting. I believe my technology skills are pretty solid, but some of the things that we're going to be talking about in this course are things that I had just basically learned for the first time on teaching this course. A lot of it, you may say, well, Dr. Barnes, you probably took AIS when you were in college, and the answer is yes. I took 2 AIS courses, which are the 2 I teach, actually. I teach this course and advanced AIS. And just to kind of give you context, the things that I learned back in those courses, I learned similar things, but they have changed pretty profoundly over a 20-year period because, technology improves over time. So that's one of the things we're going to find. So my approach to this course is to try to talk about things that are more conceptual, and we're going to have some very specific items that you'll have to learn. Some of it is very boring and tedious, and I can't avoid that. That's just the nature of the course. When we get to UML diagrams, for example, I'm going to apologize profusely to you multiple times and say, I'm sorry that we have to learn this, but this is content of the course. It's really important. You may not see it now, but it will actually fit into the bigger picture later on. But I have actually made some pretty profound changes to this particular section of the course. Part of that had to do with some evaluation comments that I received last semester. And some people made some suggestions about what they liked about the course and what they think that they would like to see in the course. I'm going to have some changes that we're going to talk a little bit about. One of those will be an approach that we're going to be doing on Fridays. We're going to actually have an end of semester project, but it's not going to be in my traditional group project where everybody gets up presents. You all done that in classes before? I will say, generally I enjoy that, but I realize the tedium that's associated with that. So we're going to be doing something a little bit different, but I'll talk about that when we get into it. We're going to be meeting here every day, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 11:30 to 12:20 p.m. It's in 1420. You will notice that on the class list, there was 2 different classrooms listed. And the reason for that is a few years ago when I started teaching this class, I realized that when students are behind a computer, it's very difficult to conduct lectures. Now, if we're doing hands-on assignment, it's perfect because you all have computers that you can do the work on with me. But when doing lectures, it's really, really hard to do, especially the acknowledgement is I'm taking notes, Dr. Barnes. But I will say that some of my classes, especially those back rows, I didn't see people's faces for the entire semester. It was really awkward. Now, looks like the back row, everybody's in the back row is pretty tall, so I get to see your faces pretty well, which is nice, okay? But it gets really, really awkward when I'm trying to talk to people and I don't see eyes and I don't see interaction and engagement. So one of the things that I was curious about is I was curious about whether or not people wanted to actually have this classroom for all of the classes because it's very efficient. Everybody's facing towards me and can see me. You have a computer in front of you that you can take notes, which is really nice. but it may not be the most efficient area for learning or for lecturing. And we're actually going to have a poll set up for that here in just a little bit. So if you aren't logged in on Brightspace, please go ahead and log in to Brightspace. We're going to take a quick poll. We're not going to worry about it now. We'll get to that here in just a second. But that's kind of something I would like to figure out is what would be the people or everybody's preferred approach. Is would they rather have this classroom for the entire semester, or should we split this up so that we have a different classroom for lecturing? And I think we were going to be intruding on Professor Bergman's class, but I don't think we'll do that. We'll actually do a different classroom. So I'll make that change if necessary. As far as the materials go, we're going to be using a third edition of a book by Vernon Richardson. He's actually an accounting professor down in Arkansas. He's got a really great textbook, and I should say that the textbook materials themselves are really, really good. The questions at the end of the chapters, I could take or leave. That's going to be our homework assignment, and you'll hear me complain about the homework a lot. I will say I would like better homework questions, and simple that long term, I would like to improve upon that. I do think the homework questions are a little bit hit or miss. Some of them are very good, some of them are not very good. But for the most part, really, really good assignments and much improvement over some of the things that we've done in the past. You will need to purchase that textbook. I strongly recommend that you purchase it with connectability because you can actually get on Microsoft Connect and have some additional tools available to you. I believe I'm going to make this statement, and it's always awkward making the statement. I believe that the requirement is for some of the tools that we'll be using that you should have Connect associated with that. The question is if you buy this without Connect, will you be able to do that class? The answer is yes. Okay, so if you just buy the textbook without Connect tools, you will still be able to do everything in the class. All right. Technically speaking, I think you're supposed to have Connect associated with the textbook. So if you can buy it without Connect, I don't ask any questions. That's just your responsibility of whether or not you get a hold of that or not. But I believe buying it through the bookstores, you do buy it with a Connect subscription, which definitely has its own benefits. There's a link to the Connect site. Has anybody used McGraw-Hill Connect before or a similar online tool? I will tell you, we don't actually do homework through that tool in this course. If you like it, I'm sorry. If you don't like it, you're welcome. But I do think that it's still got valuable because of the algorithmic learning exercises and the access to the textbook materials. But we're not going to be using it for any specific tasks in this course. So that's why I say that you can get this. You can buy the book without Connect and still be fine in this course. You will notice that I'm recording all of my sessions on Zoom. Okay, I record every single session. So if you can't be here in person for whatever reason, you can attend via Zoom. We actually have a student that's doing that right now. If you can't attend and you can't actually be on the Zoom connection, I also record and post to YouTube. I've got a YouTube channel, my link. Okay, link is listed up there. All of those you should become familiar with because you may want to have that. The good news is because every lecture that I'm going to have is recorded. Every class session is going to be recorded. I say most every session will be club recorded. There will be a few class sessions we will not record, but most every session will be recorded. So if you're studying for the exam and need to go back and look at materials, that's all available on YouTube as well. The syllabus assignment schedule, various links will be on Brightspace. And then you can should probably be available on email. I don't send a lot of messages out on email, but I do send them periodically. If you're not acclimated to this already, it's a good habit to get into is to make sure you're checking your email at least a few times every day. I know some people will say, well, I do it a few times every week or once a day. I do think a more periodic email access is probably important. I promise I'm not going to send you out multiple emails every single day, but I will send them out frequently enough that I would expect you to be able to check that pretty frequently. All right, so let's talk about this course. So as far as the format goes, we've got a pretty consistent format once we get to the regular scheme of things. It's the first few weeks are going to be a little bit dicey because we got Martin Luther King Jr. Day and because I cover multiple chapters. But basically, we're going to be following a pretty consistent format. So I'm going to give you the outline, then I'll talk a little bit about what this will look like. Monday will be our boarding day because, Monday, we're just back from the weekend, so I'm going to throw the boredom at you immediately, all right? Monday is going to be our lectures. And I'm trying to get away from the point of lecturing. We're actually hitting a point in education, higher education, where lecturing is becoming less profound and less important because we've got all these tools that help learning. I do think they serve their purpose, but it's not going to be the focus of this course. Now, for those of you who are an accounting major and going to see me in auditing in a semester or two, I will say we'll see a lot more lecturing in that class because it's such a qualitative course, it's really hard to get away from. But I do like to do a lot more hands-on work. It's hard to get away from the lecturing though. So about a third of our classes will be lecturing. Those will be the class periods that you want to bring a Red Bull or coffee or whatever your caffeine drink of choice is, because they can get a little bit bogged down. And so that's going to be usually what we do on Mondays. On Wednesdays, we're going to have a few hands-on exercises. Okay, so on Wednesdays, we'll be doing work with ERP systems. It's called the NetSuite. Has anybody heard the term Oracle before, as far as systems and companies? Oracle's a big information systems provider. They actually provide NetSuite as an online solution for smaller companies, and they allow us as an educational institution to do work through NetSuite. So we're going to learn about ERP activities and do some walkthroughs of that. So these will be very, very rudimentary and very fundamental. I will say that you're going to do it. It's going to seem really, really easy. But if you put that on your resume, say that you've got some experience in NetSuite, people will clamor over that. They'll say, wow, that's cool. Okay, what did you do? It says, well, we walked through revenue process and purchasing processes. Wow, that's pretty cool. You've got a lot more experience than most people in that area. It's kind of nice to have that experience. Even though it's not going to seem like we're doing an awful lot, we will learn quite a bit about the general framework of NetSuite. Also on Wednesdays, that's generally when we'll be turning in our homework assignments. So we'll review something on Monday. You'll be turning in homework assignments on Wednesday. This is a little bit of a change from previous semesters. Previous semesters, I usually gave the entire week to do that. I'll explain why here in just a second. But we're going to be doing homework assignments review on Wednesday. So first part of our Wednesdays will be NetSuite work through, and then we'll follow up at the very end. We'll do a homework walkthrough. And then on Fridays, we're going to start out Fridays with what I call Excel Fridays. Some of this stuff is going to be very, very repetitive on what you learned in BSAD 153. If you come in and do something in Excel Fridays and you're like, I already know how to do that, Dr. Barnes, the answer to that, my answer to that is good, okay? If I'm not teaching anything, that means you already have mastery of that content. I will say that it's going to start out really, really easy. And then later in the semester, we're going to be doing some more advanced stuff, okay? It's very unlikely that I will hit the entire semester and teach you everything that I teach you will be things that you already know. I do try to put a spin on it. It's not just I teach you a formula and say, here's a formula, here's what it does. We actually are going to be looking at applications of those formulas and applications of those tasks and see how they work in reality. So that's what Excel Friday. And then something brand new, something that I've implemented for this semester, the reason we're doing homework on Wednesdays is we're going to actually have an AI project, which is going to last for the entire semester. Now, I do not have the details for the AI project yet. This is something I just brainstormed over the past few weeks. Basically, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be working in ChatGPT or Copilot, whichever you prefer, or you can use another AI tool if you're comfortable with that. And we're just going to be doing some open-ended analysis on trying to find some ways to actually make AI more productive for your college career and for your academic career and for your career beyond that. So as far as the parameters of that go, I can't give you a lot more detail right now. I'm still working on that, but hopefully this will be something that's a little bit more hands-on and very applicable to the current day environment. And I'm looking forward to that. I will tell you right now, I think that I probably am one of the top people in AI in the School of Business. That is not saying much, okay? Or School of Business Professional Studies. That's not saying much. There are a lot of my instructors who are very, very acquainted with old traditions and old methods, who are not acclimated to using AI tools. My goal is to become not only more acclimated to myself, but to get everybody in here more acclimated. So when you show in the real world, you can actually show people how to use AI tools more effectively. If you ever want to see a paranoid group of people, go to a conference with a whole bunch of accounting instructors and tell them that you're going to teach them how to use AI. They will start shaking their boots. It was amazing. I did that last summer, and we started talking about using AI, and everybody was shaking their heads like, no, I don't want change. You know, it's very interesting. I'm very, very enthusiastic about it, but I will not profess that I know everything about AI. Okay, I'm not going to come into this classroom and say I'm learning. I'm going to be learning along with you all on this project, which is why I'm looking forward to it. So, as far as what we need to know, so first point first. Okay, in my first class that I get to encounter students was a junior level class. I do something called a beginning of semester questionnaire. Now, this questionnaire actually has two purposes. First of all, the most important purpose is for me to get to know you, okay? Learn a little bit about you, understand what it is that you're interested in, like what your name is, what your major is, where you're from, things like that. Very, very basic questionnaire. It's on Brightspace, and you will want to complete that before the end of this week. The reason that you want to complete that by the end of this week is because we have something called substantive interactions required for the Truman State classes. You may have heard this term before. Basically, we want to make sure that you're here in the classroom actually learning. If you're not, we don't want you taking the course because that's not fair for us to make you pay for something that you're not doing. So this is my substantive interaction assignment. If you complete this quiz, then I'll basically say, all right, this person is invested in the course, we can move forward. If you don't complete this quiz, technically speaking, that's when we drop you from the class. But I won't do that. If you kind of overlook it and say, I just forgot about it, Dr. Barnes, I will send you an email. I say, hey, can you complete the quiz if you're going to stay in the class? If not, can you please let me know that you're going to drop the class? All right. It's a very easy quiz. There's no wrong answers to these particular questions. Well, okay, I guess that's not true. If you fill out the quiz and I see the quiz is in one name and you give me a complete and total fictitious name, that would technically be a wrong answer. But you're free to give me whatever name. If your name is John Smith and you'd rather be called Hal, no judgment. I'll call you whatever you want me to call you. Okay, whatever your name is. So you can fill that out and get that information. I will kind of caution you when you're filling out the quiz. Please do not put information in there that you think is personal that you would not want shared with other people, because my goal is over the course of the semester, I'm going to be talking to every single one of you in the class to get to know you. The best way for me to learn people's names and to learn about them is to actually have face-to-face interaction with them and talk with them. I am very, very bad with faces. I have very poor facial recognition. So if you see me in the hall and say, hey, Dr. Barnes, and I go, yeah, that is not me trying to blow you off. That's just mostly because I don't remember the student's name. What is that student's name? And I'm going to tell you right now, I've had students that were in my entire semester, AIS last semester, that are getting ready to go take audit with me, and I'm going to forget their names in that class too, okay? It's nothing personal against you. If I just don't interact with you very much, then I don't remember names, and it's really, really hard when I've got 20, 25 other people that I'm trying to remember names for. I do try to make an effort in that, and this is one of my efforts for that. So that's why I ask you for that ability to interact. So please don't put any information that you don't want to share. Also, if you are just really, really against me at talking to you in class, if you're like, Dr. Barnes, I'm willing to share this information with you, but I prefer not to have that conversation with you in class. That is cool. Okay. Just let me know that you don't want me to call you in class, and I won't do it. Okay. I respect your privacy in that regard. Some people are not comfortable with Socratic method interactions, and I respect that. Okay. So yeah, that's kind of the assignment. Now then, moving forward, we're going to start this next week. We'll have our homework assignment and our discussions. Basically, we'll have our lectures, like I said, usually on Mondays. Our first lecture will be actually technically this coming Wednesday. Friday, we're going to have a little fun interactive activity, which I'll talk about more in just a bit. Then next Monday, we won't have class. Then we'll have another lecture on Wednesday. And then I think we do our first homework assignment on Friday. It's a little bit weird, the schedule to start out with, just because of Martin Luther King Jr. Day being stuck in there. That's why the schedule is a little bit off. But for the most part, we'll start our regular schedule probably starting in week 3. But we'll have our lecture. Then we'll have homework that's going to be due on that. Now, I don't think the homework has 0 value. I do think it has value. But I do want to give you my homework philosophy, and this is true for all the classes that I teach, is that if you take a class and an instructor basically grades you on the accuracy of your homework, you're still learning in that process. You're still trying to learn what the information is. So studying is really important, but I also think that you should not necessarily be penalized for a wrong answer. This is especially true in the courses that I teach, because I teach very subjective courses. So when I say subjective, they tend to be qualitative rather than quantitative in nature. We will not be doing a lot of math. We'll not be doing a lot of computations in this class. We will do some, but for the most part, we're not going to be doing a lot of this is the right answer, this is the wrong answer type question. So I do not grade on accuracy for my homework assignments. What I ask is that you do give me your best effort, try to answer the questions to the best of your ability, and then we come in on Wednesday and we will talk about what your answers are. I will give you what the correct answers are, quote unquote, the correct answers are, and you should take notes on those to actually reinforce your understanding. The idea being is that we're going to actually have learning in 3 phases for this lecture content. There will be the lecture, there will be you completing the homework assignment, and there will be us reviewing the homework assignment together. By being exposed to information 3 times, hopefully you'll learn it over that cycle. And that has been fairly successful for me over the courses that I've taught. I do the same thing in my undergraduate classes and to a lesser degree in my graduate classes as well. So yeah, I will say I do have a grader who reviews the homework assignments. First of all, he will kind of look and see if your accuracy is generally there. If you, on the multiple choice questions, if you just circle answers arbitrarily at random and there's no rhyme or reason and it looks like you're not really trying to answer correctly, I will reach out to you and say, look, I know that I said that you don't have to have correct answers in the homework, but 0 of your answers were correct. So what's up with that? Are you just circling answers arbitrarily? That has happened in the past. It's a really uncomfortable conversation to have. And usually when that happens, it does turn out that people are just circling responses randomly and not really thinking about the answers. Yeah, we'll review that. And if also for the short answer questions, if you're just writing 1 or 2 sentences and it's just like you're putting in half effort, I will say, need to do a little bit more than that, because the whole goal of this is learning activity, and if you're not putting an effort in there, you're not learning. So that's going to be something we will monitor. For the most part, though, you should get full credit on all homework assignments. Okay, it should not be a complex task for you to do. As long as you put in the effort, you should be fine. Then we're going to have NetSuite assignments. Now, NetSuite, I believe we're starting that. It's either week 3 or week 4. There's going to be 7 over the semester. Basically, all that we'll do is we'll sit down on Wednesday. We will walk through an activity in NetSuite, and you basically will do the same thing with me. We will have one that will be due on your own. So the first 2 assignments we're going to walk through together. And then the third one, you'll actually be doing an activity on your own. That's the only time that you'll be doing an activity on your own. The goal on this will be actually just to walk through the assignment together and understand what it is. The goal is not to have the exact same deliverable as I am. That'll be your submission, but we're going to be talking about conceptual thoughts as we go through this. So we'll be saying, all right, here's where we're at in NetSuite. We're going to click on this box right here. What does this box mean? What does it represent? And then we're going to talk about it with context to things we've already talked about in the course. So I'll say, if this box is checked, there's no control in place over here. So we want to make sure we uncheck this box to make sure there's a review process in place for this particular activity. That is the ultimate takeaway for these activities. It's not that you do exactly the same thing, or that you can click on the same box as I do. Sometimes it's going to seem really, really simple. I legitimately think there's one NetSuite activity that you have to click a grand total of like 5 times to complete the activity. Okay. If you're just making notes on, say, I clicked a box here, I clicked a box here, I clicked a box here, that is too simple, simplifying a little bit too much. We will be talking a lot more about what it is this means, or why it is that we're doing things. So as we're walking through the NetSuite activities, in addition to walking through the procedures, you should take notes on, why is this important? How does this relate to things that we've already learned? Okay. But that'll be about half of our Wednesday class period, and then we'll have a submission. I will say that for all of the NetSuite assignments, it should be possible for you to complete the NetSuite assignment in class and submit to Brightspace shortly thereafter. Now, I do have some students that have issues, like they type in something wrong or forget to click on something and have to redo the NetSuite assignment outside of class. I do make the NetSuite assignments officially due on Friday. So if you have to redo something, then you have the opportunity to do so. Because it's recorded, then you have the opportunity to rewatch the recording and just walk along with it. But for the most part, I would say 98, 99% of all NetSuite assignments that are done in this class, people will do them on the day of the assignment and submit them the same day. Okay, so you should have no additional work associated with that unless just something happens that you have to redo. Even then, we're probably talking about 20 to 30 minutes of work tops. All right. As far as something else that comes up in this class, for my undergraduate classes, I do think it's really important to develop your professional networks really, really early. And I encourage you, those of you who think everybody in this class is either a business administration major or an accounting major, right? Or at least associated with one of those majors. I encourage you to be part of a professional organization. There's a lot of good ones to choose from. I was in Beta Alpha Psi when I was in college, and I think that was really beneficial for me. DSP is another good one. I'm actually a faculty advisor on DSP here at Truman State. I'm not saying that you should be part of one of those particular, but I do think it's important to develop those networks. One of the things that I did is I walked out of college without doing that. Even though I was part of Beta Alpha Psi, I didn't network, I didn't talk with professionals. I just said, I'll find a job once I graduate. Well, I graduated in 2002 with my bachelor's degree. Does anybody know what else happened in 2002? There was the collapse of this company called Enron, okay? Has everybody heard of Enron? Okay, if you're not familiar with Enron, go look it up, okay? It was a bad time to be an accountant, bad time to be an accountant. And my peers who were graduating at the same time, they actually had job offers, and they got to keep their job offers. But I was trying to look for a job when an entire accounting firm, Anderson, had just basically gone belly up. I legitimately had a job interview for an accounting clerk position. I was overqualified for that position because I had a bachelor's degree. They were looking for somebody with an associate's degree. And I was competing with 3 other people who had bachelor's degree and 1 who had a master's degree. Okay, so that kind of tells you the problem with not developing your professional network. I just thought, oh yeah, I'm going to find a job, and I did find a job. It was frying donuts. Okay, I legitimately did that for 6 months. It is good, honest work, but it did not utilize my counting skills in the least. Okay, unless you talk about flipping donuts at a timely basis, be able to count in the timers. I did gain about 20 pounds during that job. That was kind of nice, okay? Sausage rolls are delicious. Anyway, getting off of that, okay, I'm going way, way, way into the depth of the weeds. I apologize, guys. Getting off of that, I do think professional networks are really important, and you should take that seriously at this point in your career. If you're in your senior year and getting close to graduation, you should have already done that a long time ago. Junior year is kind of the key to start doing that. Senior year, you need to absolutely have it. So this is kind of my way to contribute to that. I do believe that you need to become better at developing professional networks, and so we have what's called a professional interaction assignment. And some of you may encounter this before. Has anybody taken a class with Dr. Otero before? She does this in her classes too, and she does that. I think she kind of does. She do multiples of hers in her class?
Yeah, she had to where you did 2 of them, and then I think each one was worth 1% of your final grade.
Okay, yeah. So very similar in philosophy. I do have some simpler rules associated with my professional interaction assignment. You only have to do one. We can actually, there's one that is approved always every semester. It's if we have the executive in residence, which I don't know who that's going to be or what that will be yet. That is generally always greenlit. Otherwise, you can come talk to me and say, I'd like to go to this presentation with this account. My rules on this are pretty straightforward. As long as it's something that's genuinely expanding your professional network, I will allow it. And I'm pretty open-ended about that. That's just going to something that you're not familiar with the people already. If you say, I'd really like to interview my father, I said, so you're telling me your father's not part of your professional network? That's weird. Yeah, so I generally do not approve things like that. But if you want to talk to somebody else or go to a presentation, that will be fine. They're 10 points, 2 paragraphs. First paragraph, what was the presentation about? Second paragraph, what did you learn from it? That's it. This is a very easy 10 points, and you'll find that if you start doing this more consistently through your college career, there will be more benefits than just learning information. You'll actually meet people and develop those networks that are so important over time. So that's kind of what you should be thinking about moving forward as far as that goes. In particular, that's one assignment, and it is due on April 18th. So it's pretty late in the semester, but you start thinking about that now. A lot of opportunities. All right, exams. As far as the exams go, we have 3 exams in this class. 2 of these are midterm exams. One is going to be on Friday, February 28th, which will cover the first 7 chapters, and then the remainder content will be April 23rd. We also have a final exam. My goal is to have all the exams taken in person. If that's not possible, we'll work through that. During the pandemic, we had to do a lot of online exams, and I'm going to tell you right now, putting an exam into Brightspace is one of the most miserable experiences a human being go through. I imagine that probably taking an exam in Brightspace is the only thing that's more miserable. Okay, I do not like doing it. It's a big waste of time, and as I just talked about at the beginning of class, I don't have a lot of extra time this semester. So my hope is to do these in person. I will coordinate with you if you cannot make the exam date. I'm pretty forgiving. I have even forgiven a student who just completely forgot to show up for an exam, okay? That's a one-timer, and I definitely had some chewing out to do in that particular situation. But for the most part, I try to be accommodating wherever possible. So if you can't make an exam date for whatever reason, I'll try to work with you. It does come in, especially in spring, if those of you who are on athletic teams or have athletic events, that happens quite frequently. For some reason, I have just like a constant flow of soccer players that come through my classes. So they're always kind of missing stuff. So I have to be forgiving about that. And if you're on the soccer team, you'll know who I'm talking about. It's the Bus brothers in Holden, and those guys are pieces of work for there right there. I mean that the nicest possible way, nicest possible way. But I have representation from all the athletic teams, and it's very nice to work. It's also really nice that I record all my lectures. I've gotten a lot of good feedback on that because it used to be that if you missed a class, it was a problem and could never make up for it. Again, I'm going off the rails. I apologize, guys. So each exam's worth 100 points. That's generally 60 points in multiple choice questions, 40 points in short answer questions. I do thorough exam reviews the day before the class period before the exams. I also provide practice exams for you to practice on. Those are all posted on Brightspace already, the study guide and the practice exam. The practice exam key is also on Brightspace, but will not unlock until the day of the exam review. So you can't just go in and see what all the answers are. I do want you to work on this on your own. So that's all posted on Brightspace and available to you. As far as the final exam goes, it is comprehensive. Okay, it is also worth 100 points. I do not provide a study guide or a practice exam for that simply because you've already got that because of the previous exams. Okay. That being said, I do provide an interesting benefit. So this happened during the pandemic. I was really, you guys still remember the pandemic and all that going on. And it's like had to do online courses. And it was really stressful. And everybody's like, I'm so tired. Okay. When I had that going on in spring 2020, I said, you know what? My students have gone through a lot. I'm going to give them the option to take the final exam. Okay. And I never let go of that option. I kept doing that every semester over and over again, and my students really enjoyed that. So that's something I've held on to. You have the option to not take the final exam in this course. Now, let me talk a little bit about what that means. If you qualify for this option, and it's not hard to do, we'll talk about the ways that you can do that. If you qualify for this option, basically what that would mean is that I would take your 2 exam grades on the midterms and I would average those, and that would be your final exam score. Okay. So that's basically what the final exam would be. So free points on the final exam, just whatever your 2 grades are. So that should incentivize you to want to do good on the do well on the final or the midterm exams. What does that entail though? So first of all, you may need to make sure you fully complete all homework assignments in NetSuite submissions. Okay. So remember us talking, make sure that you do everything properly, submit everything. Take this part seriously because this is something that's very easy to overlook, very easy to lose points on. It will mean that you spend finals week with me, which most students don't, if they don't have to take a final, don't want to. Can we agree with that? That's probably the case for most people. Yeah. So I'm asking you for the assignments, take those seriously. Okay. Do everything that I assign. Don't overlook anything. If it's an incidental issue, if you miss one multiple choice question, I'm not going to send the thunder down at you. Okay. I'll say, hey, I know this is an oversight. Please make sure you're a little more diligent next time. If you complete half the assignment, I'm going to say, yeah, this was not an oversight. This was just not completing the assignment. You will lose points, and then you will have to spend finals week with me. Complete the professional interaction write-up. That's easy, okay? I need to edit this because it says 65 out of 75 points on the group presentation. We're not doing a group presentation in this class. This is just something I forgot to edit. I will fix this, but it's still 65 points out of 75 points on the end of semester project, okay, on the semester project. And the summaries of the presentation, which we'll talk about in just a second, okay? So completion of any extra credit opportunities offered, which I'm going to be a little bit more flexible on what my extra credit will be. We do have one extra credit assignment worth 10 points that I will let you guys know about, but I have in the past, a lot of people have not been able to do it for various reasons. So has everybody heard of VITA here at Truman State? If you volunteer for VITA, you will get 10 points of extra credits, okay? And I encourage everybody to do it if you at all possibly can. Now, some of you may say, I work on weekends, Dr. Barnes, is not practical. What I would encourage you to do is if you don't have the ability to work on weekends on VITA, go talk to the VITA coordinators. It's Kyle and Jenna. They're both wonderful. And they may be able to find time outside of the weekends that you can actually assist with working because they do have to do organization during the week for the VITA weekends. So there's a lot of opportunities there, and it's just an easy way to get 10 extra credit points. I encourage everybody to do it. I think it will produce dividends for you in the future because learning about how to prepare taxes is something that you're going to have to know how to do in the future. Okay. Even if it's just doing TurboTax, learning that knowledge can be very helpful. Okay. Oops. Losing it. And then no unexcused absences. We'll talk about my absence policy in a second. This is actually not hard to do. It's mostly just communication, but I do track people's attendance pretty closely. So I want to make sure that everybody understands that if you have an unexcused absence, you automatically are disqualified from this. So what does this usually happen? Usually about, for my class periods, classes, this about 90% of my students usually don't take the final exam of my classes. That's usually the level we're at. It is not difficult to qualify for opting out of the final exam. And most students are just kind of like, hey, I'm happy with my grade. I'm just going to move forward. Especially if they've already got that A locked up. They're just kind of like, there's no reason for me to take a final exam. So I'd encourage you to think about that as we're moving forward. Most people who don't have to take the final exam won't, though we do have some students. I will tell you, if you want to take the final exam, if you think you can improve your grade, you're not required to avoid the final exam. You have the option to. But if you do take the final exam, you will have to accept the grade that you receive on the final exam. So that's something to keep in mind as well. All right. This is what I was talking about. This is a replacement for the group project that I forgot to update the words group presentation in here. This is our AI research project. So basically, this is going to be a semester-long assignment. We will have some in-class activities that we're going to do to supplement this assignment. Those will be our Friday second part of class activities, where we're going to be doing some work in ChatGPT and Copilot and other research tools. Basically, the idea behind this is to get everybody acclimated to using AI tools. And some of this is going to be very basic and straightforward. We're going to be talking about proper prompt engineering. Have you all heard the term prompt engineering before? If you have heard that term before, you probably know what I mean by that. If you've not, it's going to become a little bit more interesting because this will actually teach you how to use current generations of AI tools. We're going to talk a little bit about what AI can and can't do. Large language models tend to have certain specific parameters, what they can do. Like they can be very creative. They can do R's. They can do. They can be put flowery prose together. What it can't do, it can't add 2 plus 2 very effectively. At least, not the way you think. It can add 2 plus 2, but only because on the internet it says 2 plus 2 equals 4, because they can find that information. So we're going to talk a lot about that. There's not so much structure. I'm going to be kind of doing this piecemeal over the semester, and it is going to be very open-ended. Sometimes we'll actually have activities that we'll walk through together specifically. Sometimes I'll give you a prompt and say, here's what I'd like for you to do. Make your best effort on this. The ultimate goal is you're going to put together something that's going to identify, this is something I'd really like to learn about in AI. This is something I'd like to learn how to use AI to do. And then you're going to document your progress in this. As far as the presentation goes, everybody in this classroom is going to present at the end of the semester. It is going to be a very brief presentation. It's going to be 1 slide, 3 minutes, okay? Which sounds like that's really easy. It's like, that's not because I'm wanting you to put minimal effort into it. It's mostly because I want you to be able to think about what is the ultimate takeaway from all the work that you're doing. And so I'll provide some guidance on that as far as that's the case. But I don't want anybody to become paranoid thinking, I can't do a presentation by myself, Dr. Barnes. That's just impossible. It's not going to be actually that difficult. It's going to be pretty straightforward and pretty lenient as far as that goes. The majority of the work will be what takes place over the course of the semester. Like I said, I'll have more details on that. I will give you specific guidelines of what you should be working towards. There will be multiple delivers over the course of the semester, but in total, it'll be 75 points. This is my goal, again, like I said, to try to make this class a little bit more accessible to what is current generation information technology and the things that you're going to be using in the real world. Doing things like flowcharts and UML diagrams is all good and well, but I think more of you are more interested in kind of these advanced tools that we can use. One of those contributions. Hopefully, people will find this valuable. I'll be very interested at the end of the semester to think what the takeaways are for that. But this is good. Again, last new assignment. Subjective assessment. It's approximately 5% of your grade. This is basically if you do everything I tell you to do, if you show up for class, if you do all your assignments, 90% of my students get 30 points out of this. Okay, so this is just a little incidental reward to bump your grade up if you're on the edge. This is also one of those ones that if you don't follow my instructions, this is my first place to go where I'll penalize you, okay? I hate penalizing students with this, okay? It's not my goal to give you bad grades in class. If I could actually have an entire class get an A just by the numbers, I would be thrilled, okay? That would be the best result I have. I do have to insist that people do their work, and this is one of those additional mechanisms where I tweak that. So if you do all the work, I'll try to give you a little bit of extra bump. If you don't do the work, then you're going to get a little bit of a ding on that. So please make sure that you're diligent in that regard. Some ways that you will lose point on this: not turning assignments. Unexcused absences are a big one. Usually I will dock you 5 points for the first unexcused absence, 10 points for the next one, and then the rest of the 15 points for the last one. So if you miss 3 classes unexcused absences, you pretty much lose all your subjective assessment. There's also a little bit of a note here. I do have the ability to do some subjective adjustments, but I'm for the most part, I try not to do that. Yeah, so keep in mind that that's some place that should be free points for you. All you need to do is just basically follow my instructions, and my instructions are not complex or not challenging. All right, so here's the grading: 510 points in the class. I do want to talk a little bit about participation and attendance. Participation is a given. You can participate to the level of your comfort. When I say participate, if I'm doing something in class, if I'm going through a lecture, if I'm going through an assignment, I do expect you to be focused on what I'm talking about and not focused on something on your computer. I will say that I think some of the people who did not have enjoyable experiences in this class were ones who were basically saying, I'm not interested in what Dr. Barnes has to say. I'm going to focus on my own experience, and thought it was a waste of time. Okay. That is the minority of comments that I've received, by the way, but I have received comments of students who just basically said, I did not get anything out of this class. I think the easy way to get nothing out of this class is to put no effort into it, right? So that's my goal for participation. That is going to be self-regulated by you, okay? As far as attendance goes, I expect you to be here for every class. If you can't be here, please try to attend via Zoom, okay? And that's fine. You don't have to give me a reason why you can't be here. You just say, Dr. Barnes, I have to attend via Zoom today. Or in some situations, you may just be too sick, or you may not be able to, like you may have something that's holding you up. Like you have to go, like say, for example, you have a job interview. That'd be a great one. You have a job interview, you can just tell me, Dr. Barnes, I can't be here for class, but I will watch the video on YouTube. All right, that's fine too. My number one request with respect to attendance is let me know in advance, whether that be 2 days in advance, 2 weeks in advance, or 2 minutes in advance. Please try to let me know when you won't be here for class. If you can't attend in person, please let me know you will be attending via Zoom. All right. If you can't attend in person or via Zoom, please let me know that you won't be there at all. All right. That's all that I'm asking. I'm not asking for information. If you want to share, it's like, Dr. Barnes, I've got a job interview. I'll say, congratulations. I wish you the best of luck. If you don't want to tell me that you're feeling sick, you don't have to tell me. You just have to say, I won't be there. You are grown-ups now. I'm not going to question why you can't be in class. If it comes to a problem, if like every other week or every week you're to give me 1 or 2 class sessions and saying, Dr. Barnes, I can't show up, I may reach out to you and say, is everything okay? I do believe that in-person attendance is very mentally healthy, all right? As somebody who struggles with depression, somebody who struggles with, kind of being in dark places when you tend to isolate to yourself, I do know that people who spend a lot of times in their domiciles and don't come onto campus and don't interact with people tend to have much bigger mental health issues. I'm not saying that attending AIS will solve all your mental health problems. Gosh, I wish that was the case. But I will say that getting into the habit of being out of the house and being interacting with other people will make you mentally happier. Okay. And when I kind of reach out to you and say, is everything okay? I'm asking from a legitimate perspective. I don't want anybody to suffer through that. Okay. I would like everybody to be happy and enjoy their spring semester and really enjoy their experience here at Truman State. I say that, and then I'm going to give you all UML diagrams, and you're going to say, this guy hates me. Yeah, I don't. I wish the best for you. But that's the case. Please make sure you reach out to me if you have any problems with this. At the very least, if you can't be in class, let me know. That's the bottom line that I'm trying to get to right here. All right. Let's talk really quick. Academic integrity. As far as this goes, I encourage you all to work together on assignments. Do not copy one another. This is an unpleasant conversation I had to have with some students last semester. Their assignments were identical, and I said, "Yeah, don't do that again." Okay, I was forgiving the first one, which I shouldn't tell you guys that. So, oh well, we can cheat on the first assignment. It's like, no, just don't do that. Okay. I encourage you to work together, and if you want to share answers and compare answers and come up, the reason I say the assignments are identical, like one of the short answer questions, they gave exactly the same answer in the short answer, which was wrong, so incredibly wrong that the only way that they could have come up with the wrong answer is if they wanted copied from the other. Okay, and so yeah, it doesn't take a forensic expert to figure that one out. All right, but please don't copy of one another. If you work together to solidify answers, that's fine, but you still need to do your own work. If you have disability issues, please reach out to the student Office of Disability, Student Access and Disability Services. Also, let me know, see if I can help you accommodate you with anything. Extra credit we have talked about. I don't give extra credit on a piecemeal basis. It's going to be assigned to the entire class as opposed to one person or 2 people individually. Really quick on notes regarding course conduct. Please note that do well, you have to have understanding and effort in this course. I will be able to view your understanding. I won't be able to view your effort. I do want to think that everybody is putting full effort in here, and you can demonstrate that to me by asking questions, by visiting me during office hours, by sending me emails. All of these things will demonstrate that you're trying to do what I ask you to do in this course. I will say that my office hours tend to go much less utilized than I think. I spend 10 hours a week in office hours. I would say maybe a minute fraction of that, maybe like a 2% fraction of that, do I actually spend answering student questions. Most of the time that I spend in office hours, that being open for students does not get utilized as much as it could. I am more than happy to work with you. If you can't come during office hours, feel free to email me or feel free to set up a Zoom appointment. I am more than happy to work with you during any time. You may say, well, Dr. Barnes doesn't want me might meet with you at 7 p.m. at night. Assuming that I haven't fallen in classroom exhaustion at 7 p.m. at night, I am old, okay? I am old, but if I'm awake at 7 p.m., I'm happy to talk with you, okay? There's no restrictions on when you can reach out to me. You will notice that I tend to speak really quickly. This is something that I've struggled with my entire life. My first speaking experience was cross-examination debate in high school. And if you've ever heard of cross-examination debate, the goal in that is to speak as quickly as you possibly can. It was a bad way to learn how to do public speaking, and I recognize that. If I'm going too quickly or you need me to repeat something, you can just raise your hand and say, can you repeat that, Dr. Barnes? The good news is if you watch my lecture on YouTube, if you're studying and watch it, you can actually slow it down to 75% speed. I sound a little bit drunk, okay? But I'm understandable, okay? I'm understandable. Please be professional and prepared to come to class according to work. I do joke around a lot, but I do think that you can have fun in a class and still be professional. When you email me, please make sure that it's professional in nature. It's not because I think that you need to be professional towards me. It's more along the lines of getting into good habits of writing emails. Keep in mind that your grade in this course is a combination of everything that you do over the entire course, not just 3/4. If you have like 4 weeks where you're really, really struggling, I feel bad for you, but I'm going to grade you on all 15 weeks, not just on 11 weeks and ignore those 4 weeks. Anything in the syllabus that I don't discuss, this probably won't come up, but if you have any judgments that you need to make about the syllabus, reach out to me and I will give you guidance on that. This is probably something that will come up this semester, but if it does come up, feel free to reach out. All right, so a few things that I want to talk about with respect to moving forward, what we're going to be doing. All right, so on Wednesday, we'll have our first lecture, and you'll kind of get the tone of the lectures. I make comments about my lectures, and I say my lectures are boring. I tend to be very, very enthusiastic, and I try to bring energy and enthusiasm. That being said, they're still lectures, okay? So when you come into class, you need to basically be ready, prepared for the fact that it's going to be a lecture. Where we'll be on that, here in just a second. My default is to say we'll be in this room, but we're going to talk about that here in a moment. And then one thing I would encourage you to do if you're preparing for a lecture class period, when you're in class, think about questions that come up. Just think about questions you may ask. I'm ADHD, by the way, so this is my tip for trying to resolve really, really long discussions. We just had training, and on Thursday we had to be in training for like 6 hours, and I was just like, just let it in, please, let it in. The way that I approach this is I say, all right, I'm going to try to come up with questions that I can ask about this. And that helps me engage with the material. So if you find it interminable when I'm going through this and say, what is an information system? Like, try to start thinking about questions you would ask to clarify this information, and that will help you focus on the material and the content at hand, okay? I know that you'll be taking notes and you'll be diligent in that regard as well, but this is just kind of my advice, because when we do the boring stuff is still important, but that doesn't stop it from being boring, though, okay? Then on Friday will be a little bit more fun. We're going to do we're going to do an Excel quiz to see what your current level of Excel knowledge is. And then we're going to do some fun with AI. This is just going to be kind of some examples of AI and what we're going to expect moving forward, where we're at with AI and where we're going to be in the future. Next Wednesday will be our second lecture, and then we'll have our first homework assignment due on next Friday. That's when we'll also do our first Excel activity. On the Excel activities, I do want to mention, there are no deliverables for the Excel activities. We're just going to be doing them in class. I encourage you to save the files that you're working on in Excel, because I will ask test questions about them. So anything that we do in an Excel assignment or Excel activity in class, not due for a grade, but you will be graded on it indirectly because there will be test questions on those Excel assignments or Excel activities. Also, just to note, we do have our beginning of semester questionnaire that's going to be due at the end of this week. Again, that's already in Brightspace. You can complete it now and get it out over and done with. Please make sure you get that submitted by Friday. So otherwise I have to reach out to you and say, is everything good? And you'll have to say, I'm sorry, Dr. Barnes, forgot. All right, last thing before we're done. I mentioned that I put this on Brightspace, and I wanted to save this until the end. So if we go to course materials on Brightspace, you're going to notice there's a link to Accounting 367 lecture room preference poll. It's going to force me to sign in, which I don't want to sign in, but no report of use and stuff now. Okay. Okay. All right. So I can't show a sign in, but basically all I want to note here is I wanted to try to show this without signing in. Basically, this is just for the lecture class periods. As I mentioned, I had some problems last semester with doing the lectures in this classroom, simply because I felt a lot of people were focused on their computers and not in the lecture. Easiest way to bypass that is to do this in another classroom. I currently have 1416 reported. That's not the classroom we would be in. We'd probably be in 1420 or 1424, which are the table classrooms next door. If you would prefer to have the lectures in those classrooms so that there's an unobstructed view of me lecturing, please vote for the first one. It's not going to be 1416. It's just going to be one of the other classrooms. If you are okay and would prefer to have the lectures in this classroom, please vote for 1420. Okay. Actually, I think I said 1420 was one of 1424 and 1428 are next door. This is 1420. Okay. So basically what you're viewing is the first one, different classroom, second one, this classroom. Whatever receives the most votes, that will be our default for that. I will say that I will remind you of this over the semester. If we say that we're going to stay in this classroom, I will expect you to still be engaged during the lectures and not on the computers, but engage with me face to face, looking me in the eyes and saying, that's a fantastic point, Dr. Barnes. I don't care how boring it is. Okay. This is your opportunity to say, if you think that it's going to be too difficult to be easy to be distracted in this class period, we can change classrooms. So let's go ahead and complete that. You don't have to complete it now if you're not logged in, but complete it before Wednesday. I will see you all then.